as a leader, you are on stage. And if you're frustrated and you let your frustration uncontrolled out to your team, it's really not very positive on the performance, on your performance, and you as a leader have a ripple effect in the organization on the performance of your team.
Welcome to the Insurance Leaders Lab podcast, designed for insurance professionals and leaders seeking inspiration, bold ideas, and actionable strategies. Our guests are remarkable individuals from various insurance industry sectors, and our host, Nina Shepard, has been an insurance leader for over 3 decades. Together, we explore what it truly means to be a bold and impactful leader and find personal fulfillment in the ever-evolving insurance world. New episodes are released bi-weekly on Thursdays. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice to receive alerts when new episodes drop. Bold leaders, frank dialogue, actionable strategies. Welcome to the Insurance Leaders Lab. Good morning, and welcome back to the Insurance Leaders Lab podcast. Today, let me start with a question. How many of you know what a triathlon race is? Yes, you are correct. There are 3 words and 1 number: swim, bike, run, covering 32 miles. Imagine a chilly morning somewhere along the cold Pacific Ocean, and you have to dive into that ocean and swim almost 1 mile as fast as you can. Then you get on the bike and cycle for 25 miles, followed by another 6-mile run. I admit that level of exercise has never even crossed my mind. Meanwhile, our guest, Sven Gade, has successfully completed 35 triathlon races and plans to continue until he reaches 50. There is more. Every year, Sven goes on an extensive 5-day-long bicycle tour to explore new territories. So far, he has biked over 8,000 miles and collected unforgettable memories from 19 countries. Sven is a certified executive coach who empowers leaders and teams to achieve outstanding performance. And when Sven talks about outstanding performance, you want to listen. Sven founded his company, Leader Trip Coaching, drawing on the commonalities between business and sports after leading international teams in the logistics industry for 25 years. Sven is also a co-author of the book Winning Mindset and adjunct professor of leadership at Florida Atlantic University. Good morning, Sven. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Nina, and good morning to you, and thank you for this wonderful introduction. That was the best introduction ever I got. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You can use it. I gift it to you. I know you do a lot of work with leadership teams, and I would love to hear your perspective on the critical leadership challenges as you see them in your work with leaders. But before we go there, may I ask you to share some highlights from your professional career and how you decided to become an executive coach?
Wow. Let me start maybe with one story. One big achievement in my professional career was early 2000s. I lived still in Europe. I'm originally from Germany, and I was working in logistics. I had a operational rule, and then changes came. I was not very happy about that. My boss called me for running a value enhancement program, as we called it at that time. It was basically a big change program. And he introduced his challenge to me by saying, Sven, I only have 2 problems. It's my top line and my bottom line. Everything else is fine. What it basically meant, he wanted to start this change program, which we called later the MORE program, and work over 2-3 years to improve the whole performance of this entity, which was primarily located in all over Europe with about 16,000 people. So I became the program manager for this change program. I had only 5 direct reports after I had my operational kingdom. And it was quite a change for me. And at the beginning, I totally ignored the importance of that. So it became maybe one of my most successful roles as a leader because I was leading indirectly or influence indirectly all the leaders in our organization through the 5 people that were working with me. And I learned so much about that. And I felt I was already in a kind of coaching role without even noticing it,
Right.
without even valuing it. Because the program was successful. My boss told me after you successfully finish that job, it was meant to be only for 3 years, then you basically can choose your next job. And my next job was in operations again. I saw that more as a stepping stone to further grow in operations. I maybe should have stopped there and said, what did I learn and what did it mean to me? And would have ventured already at that time into coaching. But it is history and it was meant to be. But that was a big thing in my professional career in active leadership.
Okay, that's really a great story. Now, do you bring that up in your conversations with leaders or in your team coaching conversations? Is that an example?
It is both. I mean, it comes up with my clients, and you're right, more with my team clients or team coaching clients than with my executive coaching clients. However, it happens there too, because everybody runs change programs, smaller or bigger. But I also I went back to that place fairly often myself to remind myself all the good things that I've learned. And few things of what I did there are still good tools to be used. So I'll give you one example. We
Yes.
created a learn shop, not a workshop, a learn shop. And
Wow.
what is a learn shop? We wanted to work, for instance, on operational performance. And we invited 30 people into one room for 2 days, but not only operational leaders. We also invited HR people, sales people, finance people. So people from other functions to have meaningful conversations. There were limited slides, and we basically only facilitated the conversation amongst these people. Some were experts and some were interested third party colleagues, and the outcome was just fantastic. And such things, yeah, they are very much applicable. That can be done still today, maybe more often virtually than at that time we did all in person. But yeah, still a very good concept.
Awesome. Awesome. Sven, you mentioned something that I want to explore a little bit more. You said we engage in a meaningful conversation. And I really wonder, what does that mean for you? And also from the perspective of you working with teams and leaders, what do you think the meaningful conversation is?
Well, I think let's talk about executive coaching first. When I work with executives, we first define what is the goal that we want to go after. So we have a very clear definition, and I spent quite an amount of time at the beginning to be clear. What do you really want to achieve? And some come, I want to be a better listener or a leader, or some are very specific. Some say, my direct line manager says, I'm too aggressive in my communication. So once this goal is defined, then we are working towards that goal, and everything that's going on in the life of that leader matters. So meaningful means for me in my coaching dialogues, there must be an outcome for that client of mine,
Okay.
the leader. And it might not be directly related to that goal because yeah, we also to detours and venture into other topics for just half an hour or so can happen. And that's totally fine if that is important at that time for the client. But there must be an outcome. If a client leaves a coaching dialogue of mine and says, nice guy, nice talk, and then moves on, I think then I'm not doing my role as a executive coach. So they need to get some outcome. So that was what I was referring to when I talked about meaningful
I
conversations.
hear you. Yeah, I'm in agreement here because especially in the business environment in general, there are a lot of surface conversations. Oh, how are you? I'm this, I'm that, very good. And we kind of push through and move to the next question. And that moment of that possibility to pause and go deeper and really connect with yourself in terms of what do I really want as the result of this hour of the conversation. That on itself already makes it a much more meaningful conversation.
You're 100% right. And that continues in our private lives as well. I'm not saying that I always aim for meaningful discussions, but sometimes you meet with friends and you really stay on the surface. What have you done last weekend? What will you do next weekend? Which is nice and you want to know about them. But I mean, then you have others. And I just was on a call with a friend of mine. He lives in Europe, in the Netherlands, and he is having quite a difficult business decision to make. And we spent 2 hours to go through that. And I mean, I felt energized after that. This is not a client of mine, it's a friend, but he needed me in this very moment. And we certainly had a meaningful conversation. And quite frankly, that is what connects us as friends. And I think that conversation we will still remember in 3, 4, 5 years, or maybe even later.
Yeah. As you know, I'm from Latvia, and we used to call those conversations kitchen conversations.
Oh, nice.
When literally we come together in the kitchen and drink tea or coffee and have those conversations. It's 30 minutes or an hour of a deeper connection with each other. Yeah. Of course, now most of it is over the phone, sometimes in person. But we, as human beings, we all need those conversations, and both in personal and in professional life, I believe. So that's very important.
Yeah, 100%. And these conversations, I mean, I had the experience just yesterday. They energize us. This is where relationship really happens and matters, and it's energizing on both sides. The one who is maybe working on a challenge in his or her life, and the other one that is with that person, and it goes both ways.
Yeah. Okay, so Sven, you were responsible for large operations in a multinational company working across different countries, and then suddenly you say, okay, that's it. I want to become an executive coach now. What was driving you?
Yes, the insight was maybe relatively sudden. The process going there was indeed a little longer. The whole transition took me, I think, 3 years or so. But what happened was, so you know how corporate world works. Sometimes you apply for a job, want a job, get the job, and sometimes the organization tells you, hey, this is your next job. That happened to me. I was assigned to a new role working with a team. It was here in South Florida, where I live now for 18 years. And that team, it was the same company. So I continued to work for the same company. And that team was totally dysfunctional. And I don't say that with disrespect. I'm still connected with some of the team members, and they would agree with me that they were dysfunctional, which had also to do with the former leader who was certainly not the best leader in their lives. Usually, that would be a little bit of a frustration when you get into a role and say that is a total chaos and people are fighting with each other and there's a lot of unhealthy conflict and rivalry and everything. And to my surprise, I noticed I was really excited about that. And people around me noticed that and said, hey, you told me this is a dysfunctional team and you're really excited about your new job. And that was the moment where I stopped and said, it's indeed solving this people problem, bringing them together, work together, because I felt every team member was a great professional. Everyone was great, but they didn't play together. And solving that puzzle together with them, that excited me. And I said, if that is so much fun for you, you should make that your job. And that was the moment where I started maybe becoming an executive coach and a team coach would be my destiny. And it became.
Wow. That's great. Okay. So you like the challenge of solving or helping people to solve that. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very
And
interesting.
yeah, that was the moment where it really clicked. And I fortunately had people around me that helped me to further build on that. I actually had a training company hired for my team on a few things,
Mm-hmm.
and the trainer that worked with me and my team, he became my coach. He is still my coach. And I will never forget, we had a dinner after we finished one of the training sessions here in South Florida. And without me telling him, he came to me and said, Sven, I saw you in action. Have you ever thought about becoming an executive coach? It's a real story. I still
Wow.
remember the restaurant. I still remember where we sat. And he remembers that too. I had that thought. And that was the affirmation that somebody else saw me. And then I ventured in that direction.
Cool. From a personal perspective, Sven, I know how much focus, energy, and agility is needed from you as a coach to hold that space for other people. How do you maintain that proper focus and motivation during your work? What helps you personally?
First of all, it has to do with awareness. Who do you think you are and who do you want to be? And I had the opportunity to be in a workshop where we also formulated our leadership mission and vision. That's a good exercise, but you can cut that also short by just thinking about it. What are the 5 adjectives that you would like others to use to describe you? So that gives you quite a good North Star. It's a simple question. It's not so easy to answer. I actually work right now with the executive coaching client who says, I want to be seen as open minded. And the feedback is he's not open minded. So he's now trying to make changes to come across differently to his peers. But that's another topic. So, yeah, you need to know who you are. And I think you need to also find your operational mode. What is it that gets good results out of the work that you do for your clients so that
Mm-hmm.
you feel comfortable? To give you an example, I take notes in every of my executive coaching dialogues. And I work through the notes for at least 10 minutes after that call. I do that all the time. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen one single client where I haven't worked through the notes that I've taken now with the support of AI, of course, but I have gone through that and I think through and also think what is next, what is missing, where do we need to go? So I'm mentally prepared for the next coaching dialogue. And it is maybe not necessary for everybody. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but I know this is good for Sven. And therefore I do it. And I have a bunch of other things. I just use that as one example.
That's very interesting. Taking notes is actually a very good tactics reflecting on what has been said and where do you want to take it further. That's a small but very useful tactic, not just in the coaching.
I mean, maybe not right away physical notes, but mental notes also in the private setting. You talk to your friend Peter, and Peter tells you about something going on with his mother. I mean, it is good to take that mental note. Maybe it's not the most important thing, but next time you connect with Peter, to ask him, how is your mother doing? That is, as I've said, you don't need to sit there with a notepad when you speak with your friend. If you take that mental note and use it, that helps also the connection there. So yeah, it goes even further.
I love it. Mental
Thank
note.
you.
One thing that I didn't say about you in the introduction is that you are actually a certified practitioner for emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I am sure, even though I didn't mention that in the intro, our listeners already hear that I'm talking today to a very emotionally intelligent person.
Thank
And
you, Nina. Thank you.
what you've just said, like take a mental note, because that is an important information that you need to process and keep in mind in your further interactions with another person. This is a great example of how emotionally intelligent leaders are actually living their lives.
Yes, absolutely.
From a practical perspective, you are working as an emotional intelligence practitioner within your coaching practice.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think it helps? If I ask you to
Mm-hmm.
describe how it helps leaders today, what would you say?
Well, immediately two things. Number one, awareness of emotions are super helpful, because then you avoid that you get on this autopilot that the emotions basically run you. So being aware of your emotions is one big asset that you have when you practice emotional intelligence. And there are certain tools that help you to get there. The second is then, of course, when you are aware, when you realize I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm disappointed, whatever unpleasant emotion it is, how do you process that? And there are also tools, because as a leader, you are on stage. And if you're frustrated and you let your frustration uncontrolled out to your team, it's usually not very positive on the performance, on your performance, and you as a leader have a ripple effect in the organization on the performance of your team. So these are the two things: awareness and managing. Emotional intelligence is not about getting rid of emotions. They are in us, they are with us, they belong to us. But to realize I am frustrated right now, and then take that step and say, okay, what do I want to do with that? And how do I want to continue from here? How do I want to get back on the process that I was on? That is where emotional intelligence has a tremendous effect on performance of individuals and teams.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So if I am in the moment, give me one small hack. How do I stop in that moment when the emotions are high and the stakes maybe are high in the conversation?
Yeah.
How do I catch myself?
It has to do, certainly it has to do with practice. And something you can do already in advance is, for instance, journaling. At the end of the day, journal and go over your day and think about what were the moments where I had pleasant or unpleasant emotions, and how did I react or respond to that. That creates really awareness, and it is helpful in the next moment when it happens. So I really believe in journaling. And then there are great apps where you can check in with the app and record your feelings in that very moment.
In the moment.
It offers a range of feelings. I think they have something like 48 or 64 different feeling words, and then you can add some explanations to that. They have tools in there to help you. But just checking in a few times a day and say, how do I feel right now? How do I describe that? It is good for us that speak English as a second or third language, because there are some words that I
Yep.
don't have in my active vocabulary. So I broaden my vocabulary by doing so. But the second thing is just the check in, and you will notice that you, even with everything I've done before, I notice that I'm more observative of my emotions in a very moment. And that doesn't have to be always something unpleasant. I recently took a train ride to Orlando, and I came to the platform and they played music, and I felt it was uplifting to me. Not a big thing. I mean, it's just a feeling in the moment, but catching that is very helpful, so that when you get really angry, frustrated, disappointed, and in a very moment, that you are catching yourself and then bringing
Yeah.
yourself back to the process that you were on.
So true. Practice reflection so that next time it's easier to catch yourself and to realize this is the moment and it's just a moment. I think I read somewhere recently that the research says that it takes you 3 seconds. The strong emotion goes away in 3 or 5 seconds, something like this. So this is really just a moment that you need to catch, and then it becomes easier. That's a great tool. Sven, our listeners are insurance professionals and leaders looking for new ideas, inspiration, and actionable strategies. And I know you work a lot with teams. I would be very curious to know, from your perspective, what are the most pressing challenges leaders face with their teams in 25?
Wow. Yeah. I think we are aware that, technology is evolving faster and faster. And with the recent appearance of AI, it has accelerated even more. So we're all dealing with those changes, technological changes. That is one thing. The second thing is, I think the workplace gets more and more diverse in terms of we have more global teams, and even if it is not global, there are different cultural backgrounds in teams that are even local. And it's maybe people don't call that culture, but the different age groups also have their own kind of culture, and they come together in the workplace. All that needs to be managed. And that would be the challenges that I see.
How do
Yeah.
you address those in your team coaching setting?
Yeah. So we have these challenges in our world, and they are different side by side. But I think leadership as such hasn't changed dramatically. It just, the application is maybe a little different. So what I do in
Okay.
team coaching, I start with a session where the team assesses itself, not me, the team, and not the leader, the team, and not one assesses the other. It's not a summary of individual assessment. It is the team assessing the team itself. And then we discover what are the competences that are rated high and what are the competences that are rated low. And it could be
Mhm.
trust is low and common goals are low, but we have a high level of respect for each other. And that is a good starting point for me to work with the team. That is always the first step, so that we know from where do we start. That's the first thing I do in team coaching.
Okay. That's a great start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that opens back to the beginning of our conversations. That opens up the possibility of more meaningful conversation going forward.
You're absolutely right. We work on some of these competences right away, but then business teams are a little bit like sports teams. So what I do then, I join their regular meetings, and there is a part where I just observe them, let's call it playing together, to use the analogy to sports. And the other part is where I maybe add a few insights and do a little bit of teaching on, for instance, how to manage conflicts. But then there is also that part where I help them start a conversation. How do we get better? I recently was with a team, and they had a one-day team meeting, and I joined that team meeting in person, and the leader found it was not super productive. Now I follow up with the individual leaders. It's a senior leadership team, and I help everybody get better in his or her contributions to the team. It sounds so simple, but we all have been in meetings that don't work that well. And even if everyone comes with really good intentions, so you need to help people how to be a good team player when it comes to team meetings. And the leader needs also be good, or he delegates that task in facilitating that team meeting. It needs to be prepared. There must be a purpose. There must be pre-read or not. There must be a definition of how deep we want to go, so that people are not derailed during that discussion and the whole team gets derailed. So yeah, these are things that then building on the initial team assessment we did.
Awesome. That sounds like a very robust framework that you have in your head. That's great. And I want to add from myself and from my own both leadership and coaching experience. This is where the executive coach is really needed, because this is an outside perspective, a neutral outside perspective, which is very helpful to the teams and the organizations. Not everything could be done from the inside of the team itself. And this is where the team coach, executive coach comes into play. That's a great explanation. Thank you, Sven.
Nina, if I may quickly add, this is the awareness piece for a team. We talked about awareness before. Now, in this specific example, the opportunity to sit down with individuals and say, how did you like your own performance? And how can you do better next time? And it's going around the table. And it helps that individual to realize, how did I come to this meeting? How did it work? And also for the leader, I mean, it's a complex task to facilitate a meeting, because you're the boss, you're a participant, you are maybe even in some cases the subject matter expert, and people need to realize, which hat do you have on? That's also not so easy. I mean, not for the leader to do so, but also for the people. Is he now coming in as a facilitator or as the boss, or is he just teaching us because he has more experiences than we all have? So
very true.
that's where I think an outside view can help to sort these things out and put things together so that it works better together. And also awareness of the team. I mean, a great tool that was not invented by me is to check in and ask in the middle of the team meeting, how much value did you create so far? Because sometimes we get really off track with our discussions, or get lost in the minutia. But just checking in and said, okay, what have we done so far? How much value did it create for our organization? And that is always an eye opener.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Sven. These are great remarks. As we are approaching the end of our conversation, what words of wisdom do you have for our listeners?
Well, I'm a true believer in teamwork. And not every group reporting to a boss is naturally a team. Sometimes it is okay that they are not a team. Then try not to make a team out of them. If we have 10 sales reps reporting to the same boss, and the sales reps work very, very independently, then admit that this is not a team and don't manage it as a team. Number one. Number two, if it is a team, spend enough time on getting to know each other. A leader needs to know his or her people in order to lead them and to motivate them, and spend time on bringing them also together. We're very often, and we talked about team meetings, very often we focus on what we want to do, who has to do it. But we never really talk about, how do we want to work together? Define some norms that are important for you to collaborate, and go back to that and hold each other accountable. That's a great tool also. And in particular, as we talked about cultural differences across age groups, across regions. If you define your own list of norms and put them together and hold each other accountable, that's a big step forward to be more effective as a real team, when you have a real team of people working together. So that would be my closing remarks.
So you do have a lot of wisdom. Don't be shy on that. There was a lot of wisdom in what you've just explained to everyone, and I'm sure our listeners will benefit greatly from what you've just said. Anything else you would like to share before we finish our conversation?
I just would like to thank you, Nina. It was such a pleasant conversation with you. It definitely helps that you know the coaching space fairly well. We're both EI, emotional intelligence certified practitioners. So here we also connect. And one thing that I took away here, and I took a note, kitchen conversations. If I get your permission, I will use that now actively when I talk to people, and enjoy kitchen conversations, and will think back of Nina.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Sven, if our listeners would like to learn more about you, where could they find more information?
They can find more information about me going to my webpage. It is www.leadertrip-coaching.com. And the trip stands for what you've said at the beginning. Leaders or teams are usually always on a journey. Be aware of that. You start somewhere, you go somewhere, and then you go from there any further. And therefore, I called it Leader Trip Coaching. So leadertrip-coaching.com is my webpage. You can find more there. Sign up for my newsletter or contact me directly through the webpage.
Sven, thank you so much for the wonderful conversation. I truly enjoyed it. And thank you, and have a wonderful day.
You too, and thank you for having me, and have a great day as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Insurance Leaders Lab podcast. If you like what you've heard, please like it and leave a review on your preferred podcast platform. If there is anyone else in your circle who can benefit from listening, please share this link with them. Remember, this is a podcast for you, and your opinion matters to me, so if there is any topic you'd like to bring up, please send me a note to nina@ninashepherd.com. I'll see you back in 2 weeks on Thursday morning. Bye for now.